Chapter 3, Number 45. As it passes over Grand Bahama Island, the eye of the hurricane is moving in a direction 60.0 degrees north of west, with a speed of 41.0 kilometers per hour. 3 hours later, the course of the hurricane suddenly shifts due north, and its speed slows to 25.0 kilometers per hour. How far from Grand Bahama is the eye 4.50 hours after it passes over the island? Chapter 3, Problem number 45. Our givens were: the hurricane is moving north of west at 60.0 degrees with the speed of 41.0 kilometers per hour. 3 hours later, the hurricane then slows down to 25.0 kilometers per hour and heads due north. The formulas, the equations you're going to want to use for this formula. The formulas / equations you're going to want to use for this problem is that delta x is equal to velocity sub x times time, where Vx is equal to velocity, t is equal to time, and delta x equals distance. It's easiest to see what you're going to want to find if you draw a diagram. So here we have the island. The hurricane then moves north of west 41.0 kilometers per hour at 60 degrees for 3 hours. And then after that, it heads due north at 25.0 kilometers per hour for 1.5 hours. Step 1 is to find the distance. So you're going to solve for x. So you'll have 41.0 kilometers per hour times 3 hours times the cosine of 60.0 degrees times negative I representing the direction, plus 41.0 kilometers per hour times 3 hours times the sine of 60.0 degrees times j traveling in a different direction than I. And add that to 25.0 kilometers per hour times 1.50 hours times j. Multiplying all this out will give you 61.5 kilometers times negative I plus 107 kilometers times j plus 37 kilometers times j. Reducing that into 61.5 kilometers times negative I plus 144 kilometers times j. Step 2 is to plug in delta x into the distance formula. Solve for d. So d is equal to the square root of 61.5 kilometers squared plus 144 kilometers squared, making it 3,782.3 kilometers squared plus 20,736 kilometers squared. Adding those two together gives you the square root of 24,518.3 kilometers squared, resulting in your final answer of 157 kilometers.